G'day guys, welcome back to Beers and Breakevens, brought to you by Bloke in a Bar, the best beer in the country, the beer of Supercoach and Blue Wealth Property. We're lucky enough to have one of the big dogs from Blue Wealth Property join us once again. We haven't seen you for a few weeks, mate.
Good to see you.
You been working out or something?
No.
No, same. Weird. Unbelievable.
I should be, but no.
You've also got an incredibly consistent amount of stubble there.
He's good at what he does.
I like to be prepared, mate.
How good. We have got Morts from Blue Wealth Property joining us, mate. And tomorrow, pretty big day for Blue Wealth.
Mate, it is. Our seminar in the office, rent vesting. Numbers are looking good, so we've still got a few spots available. Love to see a few of the Beers and Breakevens followers out there. I think there might even be a couple already coming along, but really looking forward to it, mate.
We've already had a few that have signed up. Obviously, the link is in the description, guys. So if you are keen for tomorrow night, make sure you go and hit that. Mention Beers and Breakevens. You can be at Sydney Olympic Park at 6:30 p.m.
Yep.
At Blue Wealth Property Headquarters, or you can jump online for the webinar. One of our favourite words, Timmy.
Yeah, webinar, yeah.
Webinar.
Yeah, by nature, by name, it's a belter.
Hard to beat. Yeah, and mate, what can people expect there?
Mate, so same a couple of weeks ago, rent vesting, it's basically showing people how you can rent where you want to live, buy where you can afford. Very hard to save a deposit for to live where you want to live, particularly in Sydney. So it's just flipping the great Australian dream on its head. Our parents taught us, save your money, go and buy a property, pay it off, and then go from there. But just basically a new way to get in the property market that is really going to become it already sort of is becoming a more common way for people to start investing.
Yeah, and Tim was saying a few weeks ago he wanted to move down to the Gong, and I want him to move down there too. I want to get rid of him, so I actually brought him a place down there over the last few weeks. So how good's that?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get as far away from you as I can, mate. We might have to start doing these via video link, and it's just the best of both worlds. We don't have to talk to each other in person, don't have to see you, don't have to smell you. It's just a great option.
Everyone wins.
Everyone wins.
Kicks a goal. How good. Morts, mate, we know you've got a run. We thank you for joining us once again. 6:30 p.m. tomorrow night. Can't miss stuff, right?
Done. Thanks,
Done
guys.
and dusted.
Looking forward to it.
Cheers, legend.
See you at one soon too.
Yeah, we will be along to one.
Bloody oath.
For sure. Thanks for coming in, mate.
Awesome. See you guys.
All right, Morts, he has come and gone, one of the champions of all time. Make sure you reach out to Blue Wealth Property. That's tomorrow night, 6:30, rent vesting. Make sure you're there on the webinar or at Sydney Olympic Park out there at Blue Wealth headquarters. Now, we've obviously got Blue Wealth Property, got Bloke in a Bar, major sponsors, but this week's podcast is also brought to you by the great Jack White and deciding that he doesn't want to live in a shithole. Tim, welcome back.
Good to have you back, Guru. Yeah, no, I've really missed you that last week and a bit or whatever it was. I'm sad to see you go. So,
what about the two chuckling heads here last week? Good God.
Mate, there were petitions started, Guru out, Waterboy in for permanency, and don't worry, it's going to happen. We're going to make it happen.
I got a message from a bloke last week who said, geez, Matty seems like a good bloke, but fuck, his voice is annoying. And I said, mate, he's not even a good bloke. He's fucking overrated. He's a hack.
Yeah, then I chimed in and said, you've got the wrong bloke, mate.
But Matty the Waterboy, we love having him. Tim more so than me. But do you reckon we'll get him on again this year?
He's good. He's good value, Matty. And he also plays himself down and plays his knowledge down and his Supercoach ability down. I'm like, Matty, you know more than just about anyone else here. Like, maybe not the intricacies of Supercoach, but a good footy head will go well at Supercoach, especially if you're being steered in the right direction by certain people around you, which you know all about, Guru.
He is one of the keenest footy heads in the world, isn't he?
Yeah, and switched on.
Switched on, yeah. So shout out to Matty. We will drag him back on here at some point. Not that he needs an invite. He can just show up whenever he wants. The Waterboy.
Pretty much runs Bloke in a Bar. Like, people reckon it's Kempy behind it all, but it's Matty the Waterboy's brand, isn't it?
It's Matty the Waterboy by a country mile, the king. So yeah, we made big promises of the great Tommy Sangster. He wasn't able to make it, and we had the great Copes. He couldn't make it. So
too late withdrawals. Yeah, two genuinely legendary fellas, Sangster and Copes. So whether it be Beers and Breakevens or the SC Playbook podcast, they'll be on again by season's end. So looking forward to getting him on. But yeah, they were late withdrawals. So Matty the Waterboy stepped up to the plate.
And shout out to Matty the Waterboy. He was strapping his boots up to play Ron Massey Cup last Wednesday and then got the 11th hour call to come up. Sean Timmins like unreal. All right. Now, this week's a shit fight.
Oh.
Absolute fucking shit fight.
Yeah.
I think it just is what it is. We don't have team list yet. We don't have lockout yet. You're going to have to sort of make your own decisions this week. We'll guide you in a general direction, but we don't have team lists in front of them. We don't have them yet. You guys will probably have them this afternoon. I think that by the time this goes live, they would have just about come out. So, yeah, you're going to have to take it out of autopilot this week and make some of your own decisions.
Yeah, imagine that. We've got the... So weird week, obviously, with Anzac Day yesterday and the 2 games of footy, meaning Supercoach won't unlock till... It could happen live. It should, with a bit of luck, happen during the show at some point. Can you tell us Anzac Day yesterday?
How good. Fucking dark.
Yeah,
Jesus.
so, yeah, if you want to question our commitment to this podcast, coming off Anzac Day, 8 a.m. in the morning, recording the podcast, 3 podcasts happening today, so... As you said, Guru, it's a shit show, but we're here.
I think I need subtitles just quietly. And mate, you were a little bit crook yourself last week too.
Yeah.
Your own little flu pod.
Yeah, it ended up being the spicy cough. So, yeah, apologies to anyone.
Wonder where you got that from.
Yeah.
Would have been the wedding of weddings.
Some shit wedding I went to on the Friday night before. So, yeah, mate, that was a genuine flu pod, having the spicy cough. So I was a bit sunk at the back end of the week there, but coming off the back end of that. And, yeah, as you said, it'll be a fun podcast because we're winging it to a degree in the fact that we don't have team lists. SC Playbook podcast we'll record tonight, so we'll have them by then. But I also think it's a great opportunity because we do normally record these 2 days after, lockout happens and we have team lists and we've had a good look at our trades. We're going to give our thought processes on basically when we're going through our teams, all right, what are the problem areas? What trades do we look at making? What could change with team lists? So I think it'd be a bit of fun in doing it that way.
Yeah, for sure, mate. I'm actually, as we said, we're not completely winging it today, but we are just more so a bit of shit chat. So this is a real coffee chat.
Yeah, I wonder if anyone jumped on your advice and got on Isaac Tungo for his back-to-back 35s and then got injured and gone for 2.5 months. I'm surprised you showed up this week.
Yeah, Isaac Tungo is an interesting one. We're hearing that it could be we're hearing it's 4 weeks, but then I'm hearing from other people that it could be more. It could be heaps fucking less. Shout out to Butter Menthol sponsoring the podcast once
Jeez, they've done some heavy lifting this season,
for the 10th week in a row. So, yeah, an interesting one there with Isaac Tungo. And obviously, I think that Panthers team list Tuesday today is going to be very, very interesting. They've rested a number of guys in New South Wales Cup, including Jack Cogger, which is terrifying. Chris Smith, Luke Garner. So my mail is that you will see Scotty Sorensen get rested. And I think if they had it their way, they would probably rest Zach Hosking, but I'm not sure if they can afford to. So an interesting one there. And I think the 2 names that we will be talking about, I think the first one will be Tommy Jenkins, who's a Penrith Panthers junior. He made his debut last year against the Cowboys. I think he's played 1 game so far this year. Maybe not. Maybe it was a trial.
Not this year, mate. Possibly
not this year. He played a game against the Cowboys last year, his debut. A guy that I really like, very, very talented. He can play centre or wing. Ivan Cleary's been experimenting in reserve grade. He's traditionally a centre who's been playing wing. Jesse McLean is a winger who's been playing centre. Tyrone Peach has been playing every position under the sun. So Ivan, he certainly is getting his squad ready for the origin period and for any situation that could come his way in the back end. So interesting few months for Penrith. And if it is true and they do rest guys this week, I think it is just worth noting. I think a lot of people are saying, the disrespect to the Tigers. 3 grand finals in a row. 3 Origin series in a row. They're coming off a World Cup.
Please.
Haven't really seen a team in this sort of a position before. So I wouldn't say it's disrespectful to the Tigers. In fact, if there's any team that I think Ivan would love to fucking give it to, it'd probably be the Tigers. Yeah. I just think that this is a side that is well coached and well managed, and they know that it's the last month that matters.
Yeah, and you mentioned Nathan Cleary, for example. Obviously didn't kick goals last week. Stephen Crichton kicked goals, so obviously very minor, but some sort of groin niggle there or something going on. So, why not rest him if you got the opportunity? Good luck to him to put themselves in that position to be able to do that. Really interesting week of trades last round. I mentioned sort of basically through the entire week that my second trade, one trade was going to Ruben Garrett coming in, but my second trade was being kept completely fluid because it was around that next cheapie to come in. Initially, I wanted it to be probably Hayes Dunster.
Yep.
Dunster was out, Simonton in. Sweet, no, let's move on to probably my next option, Drale Skelton. Skelton didn't creep into that side as expected. Boom, third option, Jared Croker, welcome to the Cooma Stallions. So even last night, because Croker and the Raiders were on the bye, had the opportunity to really finalise that trade up until the end of the or started the final game of the round, being the Warriors and Storm, and you flipped me a message around Tungo saying that might be out for a while. I was like, McLean, Jenkins, do I just go really early on him and just do a potential masterstroke or a potential like absolute disaster? There just wasn't enough solid word around. I'm like, I'll just stick with Toots. Croak comes in, kick a few goals for me, happy days.
Speaking of Joe Croker, he also came into the bluest of Hines this week.
He did?
Yeah, he did. He came in, so a trade that I never thought I'd do again, but happy to bring him in.
There wasn't... Look, we needed to free up cash.
Yep.
And there wasn't a lot of great options. So a lot of people were moving on someone like Khan Pereira. I think Gogs, he busted out another 15 or so. Moving someone like him on to a gun CT dub, generally being Garrick or Manu. And we needed to free up the cash.
Yep.
And there was just no standouts last week. So hopefully Croak can deliver.
My trades last week ended up being I brought in Manu, I brought in Madison, and I brought in Jared Croker. So pretty, I was
How
very...
many boosts?
How many have I got left?
How many have you used?
I think 3.
That's right.
Yeah, so happy with how that's going. I've got, it's a question that we've got later, but I've got 32 trades left. How many you got left?
I have got, 32 as well, and
Sweet.
I've used 2 boosts.
Okay.
Which is pretty good. Because one thing, like the Spy used his fifth boost on the weekend. Very aggressive approach, and as I said, I understand using him early, especially if your team's needed it and the weeks have warranted it, but not only are you using the opportunity to use your boost later on, but you're still burning through extra trades early on in the year. So I think to have 32 trades left at this point is pretty good compared to a lot of other coaches out there. I'm happy with that.
Do you know how many trades Spy has left?
I think maybe like 28 or 9.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, they said 5 boosts, so there's 5 plus 1s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, okay. Let us know in the comments how many trades you got left, how many boosts have you got left. Very interested to hear how you guys are travelling if you're on a similar path to us. I had a few people that commented last week or the week before saying that how do you have so many trades? I didn't realise that we'd actually saved a few in comparison.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's because we weren't... I mean, you've used 3 boosts now, but it wasn't not so much... Like, I don't think either of us traded round 1 or after round 1.
Yep.
So they haven't made too many, like, saved trades, but because we haven't boosted as much as a lot of people, we've probably saved them in that instance.
Yeah. I just want one more thing I just thought of that I forgot to mention when we were talking about the Penrith Panthers and their team list coming up. I think there's a good chance that Sonny Luke could be rested this week too. So there is a world where we could all be without a hooker, Harry Grant and Sonny Luke.
Why would Sonny be rested?
I think that hamstring's playing up again. The way it was described to me the other day is a chronic hamstring. So this has always been a problem with Sonny Luke. He's incredibly talented. You all know I rate him very highly, but there's a reason why he's only played 60 or 70 New South Wales Cup games. It is because of injury. So just brace yourself because there is a chance that Harry Grant's obviously on the bye this coming weekend. So you might be running without a 9. So
this is good. So that's the point I mentioned before about talking through our trade plans on the fly, and we're basically going to go through our teams and present our options and what we're thinking. We'll be doing this shortly, but like that changes things straight away.
And once again, you guys will have team lists. We do not, so you'll have more information than us. But that's sort of where we're at. What do you want to do here? Do you want to go into fullbacks chat, or do you want to talk about our trades and what we're thinking this week?
Let's talk about the trades we're thinking, because I think fullbacks will tie into that quite well.
Yeah, okay.
We can start with fullbacks, mate.
So,
how'd you go last week, by the way?
I did well last week. Probably had one of my better weeks in a while, 1,160. So
good week.
Yeah, very good week. What'd you get?
I was 1089. So, mate, I'm sorry. Did I miss lockout ending?
I don't give a fuck. There you go. Enjoy that.
How's this bloke playing by his own rules?
Thank you.
I could have 80 points or 90 points in updates.
I know you could. Knowing you actually could too. All right.
Yeah. Speaking of, Isaiah Katoa not getting that try assist. Please.
Bullshit. Fucking bullshit.
I had to play him.
If his name was Isaiah Cleary, he'd be shit in for it.
I played him at 5'8" this week. Was watching the game at halftime. I was pretty worried, and then he had like the rest of the Dolphins, had a massive crack in the second half. Had that try assist, went, you beauty. We're looking at a comfortable 60, 65 plus. They gave it to him, then stripped it off him and gave it to Ewan Aiken for the tip on. It's like,
I could be wrong as well, but I can't remember which try it was. But Ben Hunt last night, he was given a try assist, and then mid-game they changed it back to a try contribution.
Yeah, I was about 10 pints of Guinness. 10 pints of bloke down at the time, and so I was watching the game, but I was more just focusing on whatever Joey Manu did, not the intricacies of the Supercoach scores.
Manu, whilst we're on him, scary, playing 5'8" there.
Yeah, isn't he? Interesting, only 13 runs, which for any 5'8's like it's a fair few, but for Manu, who are used to playing 5'8" and having 38 runs. But he's terrifying, isn't he?
Those 13 runs, though, like there is an offload or a tackle break in just about every single one of them.
Not owning him, fortunately did bring him in, but not owning Joey Manu when he's playing at 5'8" or fullback, you can't watch the game. Horrifying.
Especially when he's playing against St George, who we all know. Do you remember that game last year?
No, I think I was...
The onslaught?
I think I was away that weekend.
Yeah, of course. All right, mate. So trades this week, what are you sort of leaning towards? What are you thinking?
So it'll be a very general chat about it, and let's start with fullbacks. Tommy Trbojevic, expected to get named at fullback today. So whether or not he plays will obviously have a big impact on the decision on whether we're holding or selling. I got a bit of mail that Ruben Garrick will play centre, which I don't love for his Supercoach output, but not the end of the world. Obviously got the nice matchup with the Titans. So there are a lot of factors here around Tommy Trbojevic and fullbacks that will dictate trades this week. The one thing about Tommy Turbo is, first he plays the Titans at Brookie, so it's a great matchup. Obviously looks hampered, but if he plays, they can't be too concerned about him, you would think. The other one is that I had him earmarked as a sell before Origin because he'd missed round 13 due to Origin and then round 14 Manly on the bye. Plus, there's every chance he gets rest after Origin 2 and 3. But he's also the kind of bloke that if he's not 100%, which he doesn't look like he is, he could absolutely go to Brad Fittler and say, look, mate, I'm not at my best. I need to focus on Manly, get myself right, give it to someone else who's fit and firing a spot. And there's a million centres you could go to, or wingers, fullbacks, wherever you want to for the Blues. So Tommy Trbojevic could be available around 13 for Supercoach, which changes everything.
For sure. 100% it does. He looks so far from 100% at the moment. That was a very tough watch the other day. I obviously didn't captain him or anything, so I kind of enjoyed watching him not go berserk. But I think there is a real world where you're spot on and he does play round 13.
Yeah.
If you don't have him, tough.
You'll be getting him before round 13, I think, if you don't own him by that time. So I'm just on the fence, and let's say, I expect him to get named today. Not guaranteed, but I'm expecting him to. And then you look at Reece Walsh, who, look, he got 38 on the weekend. There was a down week coming. It had to happen. He'd gone bonkers all season. But he's at top dollar. He's not probably going to get any higher in price. He was one that the Broncos have a tough draw coming up. I was willing to sell and cash in for, say, someone like James Tedesco. But also I'm thinking that with Kalen Ponga back, I think he's the Maroons' number one, provided he's fit and good to go. So I think Walsh is probably available around 13 for us as well. So I'm tempted just to hold both of them to 13 now. But where do you sit on it?
Yeah, I seriously considered selling Walsh 2 weeks ago, just watching this draw coming and everything. I'm glad I didn't, despite the, not the great score this week, but the week before that, I think he scored 100 again. So I was happy to hold, but now I do want to get rid of him. I also think that Reece Walsh is a serious chance to be that Queensland 18th man still. I reckon he's a serious chance to take that. So I'm very much, I think this is a classic. We'll know what was the right call when we look back in 6 weeks' time, because it is a complete and utter guessing game. And I do think that if you do guess it right, you're flying. And for all the planning and everything we can do, KP could get concussed getting into his car tomorrow and miss Origin. And all of a sudden, Reece Walsh is the fullback for 3 games there, and we're completely fucked all over again.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. It makes it... And that's what I mean. Like, if that does happen, by the time we get to round 13, that first major bye week, Origin 1, because of the tough draw coming up, he might lose 150k by then, Reece Walsh. He might not. He might keep turning up. Happy days. But yeah, I'm not so sure. And then you look at a trade in target, someone like Teddy, who looks like a pretty good go now, who's around that 600k mark, very, very cheap. The Roosters have a nice few games coming up leading into Origin. They played Penrith there at one stage, but in and around that, pretty nice. But then you think Ted will be unavailable in 3 major bye rounds, and then just a red hot chance of getting rested around the Origin period by the Roosters, especially when you've got Manu and Suoliti who can both slot into fullback so easily. So I'm tempted by Teddy, but like, I don't know, like do you cash in Walsh, a bloke who's fit and firing and the Broncos are killing it, or do you trade in Tommy Turbo under an injury cloud, but like, near bottom dollar for what Tommy Turbo's capable of with a nice Titans matchup? Yeah. Do you pay up for Latrell Mitchell at over 900k on a tear, but also, again, Origin looming, another bloke who's a chance of getting rested in around that Origin period, so he'll miss a lot of games. I believe he misses around the three major buy-ins, 13, 16, 19, and then I think the Bunnies have the buy, it might be around 20. So I know that's looking a fair way ahead, but he's missing a lot of action.
They've got to buy around 25, the Bunnies.
Round 25.
Yeah, because it's in my Supercoach draft.
And round 20. And round 20. Okay. So, Latrell will be missing round 19 and round 20. Again, that's a fair way ahead. He can do a lot of damage in that time, but also missing round 13, round 16. So, like, what are your thoughts at fullback? Because there are a lot of different avenues we can go.
Yeah, just on Kalen Ponga too, obviously we mentioned that if he's fit, he'll be the fullback for Queensland, we both assume. So he's actually got a bye between now and Origin, so he's only got to get through 3 games. Yeah. Parramatta, which will actually be there this weekend. Nice little segue. We had a giveaway last week, and we think we're waiting for Lockout to ensure what Clint Gutherson's score actually was. But we have got a few winners of that, so I will be randomising those, and I'll be announcing the 2 winners on social media this week. So we might have scheduled that giveaway in the most chaotic week of all time, Supercoach-wise, for announcements. So stay tuned on social media for that. Those 2 winners will be joining me and Timmy next Friday, 6 p.m. at CommBank Stadium. I can't fucking wait. That's going to be unreal.
Mate, we took the piss last weekend, but are you going to be allowed near Jermaine Hopgood? That's dangerous, and you know it is.
It's ABO territory.
Yeah.
So, stay tuned for those guys. As far as fullbacks for me, mate, I was really hoping that I would show up today and you would maybe convince me on what to do here, because I have no clue whatsoever. I love what Latrell's doing at the moment, but does miss a lot of footy over the next few weeks.
Over 9, like you look at Latrell at over 900k, then you look at Teddy at 600k, 300k swing. That is huge.
Huge. Yeah, 100%. Mate, what about, and I'm only looking at, buys sort of stuff, how many games he plays. What about Gutho?
I just wouldn't probably want to do it until round 13. I think Gutho will be a very, very solid option around the bye period. I just want to wait until... So what he had 3 weeks on the trot, 71, 74, 75, and then 86, I think it was, on the weekend. So going well. He's had 1 score under 62 this season. It was a 37 against Penrith. In that game, he based 35. Pretty freaking solid, isn't he?
Worth considering.
So look, what do they got? The Knights this week will be at it. Into the Titans, into the Raiders. It's a good draw.
He's just hard to trust, though, isn't he?
Not so much hard to trust because he's so reliable for that anywhere from 60 to 80. I just want that 150 plus ceiling that Latrell and Teddy and a few of these fullbacks do offer. But look, probably one more for round 13 for me, but hard to knock what he's doing.
I'll tell you what would have been really nice and juicy, which I was hoping there was a hope for last week when I heard the news. I was hoping that Roger Tuivasa-Sheck might have been effective immediately. And welcome in you come, kid. Imagine. Would have been unreal.
Oh.
It's popping off in the draft chat. We thought for a moment there that Roger Tuivasa-Sheck was going to be added to the waiver. Would have been fucking chaos.
Oh, my goodness.
Would have been unreal.
So, yeah, just going through any other fullbacks. Nick Meaney on a tear. He's so good. No one else out of the main ones we've sort of said. Little cheeky old AJ Brimson there. Holy shit, speaking of good, what a gun.
Yeah, he's
especially in first halves of games.
Such a good footballer.
So 578k, just having a look at the draw. But
are we ruling AJ? Are we sure AJ is not going to play Origin at all?
No, I'm not sure of it. The Titans have the bye in round 13, so there's probably no real use in going early. But people looking at Dylan Brown for 13s and 5'8". I was going to say AJ, but he could play. He could play Origin. As it stands, it's KP's spot to lose.
Yeah. What about, I know he's never been, Supercoach relevant, but doesn't play round 13, obviously, but he plays round 16. Dill Edwards won't be missing for Origin. Be there and thereabouts. Pretty fucking consistent.
780k prior to, obviously, lockout ending. Averaging 76.
The other reason why I like him during that Origin period is, granted, a lot of their guns will be out, but that'll almost be his team. Assuming that
he'll do everything.
He'll do everything. He'll do a lot. So
maybe. Yeah, there's some real flyers. So, look, if I'm giving my thoughts right now heading into the week, I'm probably thinking I hold Tommy Turbo. It's funny how quickly this game can change, but if Tommy Turbo's named and plays this week against the Titans, put it this way, Manly are coming second. They've got Ko Weeks who can play fullback. They've got Ruben Garrick who can play fullback. If he plays, they're not too worried about him. And he gets to match up at home against the Titans. So if he plays, they'll probably hold Tommy Turbo. I can see why you would sell Reece Walsh, but I just think there's probably other areas that I'd prefer to address than him. It's also an awkward week with the Storm on the bye. So myself, I've got Harry Grant, Christian Welch, Eli Katoa. So people might be a little bit short as well. At this stage, I'll be holding Walsh and Tommy Turbo. That's my thoughts.
just having a look at the ladder, as you said, Manly are coming second, and this is something I saw on Twitter earlier today. I don't know who it was, so apologies for that. But Manly are coming second. They've had 4 wins. Canterbury are coming 16th. They've had 3 wins.
How good's the NRL?
As far as buys, draws, obviously that impacts that stat, but that is phenomenal. Yeah. That's just out of this world.
So exciting.
Yeah, it is an unreal comp at the moment.
Great season.
So yeah, look, guys, we're obviously waiting for Teamless Tuesday. We want to know who's playing this weekend before we tell you who our trades are, I'm sure. And I would highly advise this week. I'm sure you all do every single week, but I think Playbook this week is a must listen without a fucking doubt.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, that's it. We'll be recording tonight about 6 o'clock or so. Yeah. I'll be asleep at the bar by that time just for something different, but. So
then it is a must listen.
Yeah, absolutely must listen. Yeah. So obviously it'll be updated by then, and again there'll be content going out over the next couple of days before kick off Thursday night. So we'll be right. We'll be right, mate.
Can I ask you, mate? I brought in Ryan Madison last week. Is he a guy that you're targeting at the moment? We got a fair few questions about him over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
last couple of days.
And what he scored about 59. 59 this week, mate. Rock solid. Absolutely a great plan. They're continuing on with, the potential trade chat. I've got Eli Katoa there who, look, I was more than happy to hold, but it sort of worked out all right in the sense that I believe it was a Cat 1 HIA he got last night, so that was an absolute ball breaker for owners.
Yeah.
But I was happy to hold him for sort of going forward, but now the buy this week, set to drop some cash, there's the chance to go to someone like Ryan Madison. So... yeah, I can't knock him as a buy at all.
Have you got Hopgood still?
Yeah.
He becomes very interesting now that Regan Campbell-Gillard's going to miss some footy.
Yeah. And Junior Borlo will miss over Origin.
Yeah.
I'm so content with Hopgood.
So am I.
Like, he got 43 on the weekend
with
a sin bin. And he just looks good.
Yeah.
And I've mentioned it a few times, but because he is around that mid 500k mark, he's not at 700k where you flip him and make a heap of cash. I'm like, he's not going to get much lower than this price-wise. Put it this way, I think people will be trading him back in come around 13.
I think so as well. And I think that during that period, he is one injury or one in-game HIA from playing 75, 80 minutes.
Yeah.
You're looking at a great score.
Yeah, so I'm happily holding Hopgood. Hasn't really panned out for him terrifically the last couple of weeks, but he won't be leaving my side, and happy to have him there. So,
mate,
yeah.
We got to see for the first time last weekend Josh Schuster. I didn't get to watch this game super closely, but from what I did see, wasn't overly impressive. I think he scored 22 or something along those lines. This is who Josh Schuster is, though.
It's pretty unflattering, mate. Like, we know what he's capable of. He just likes to just roll the sleeves up, do a bit of the dirty work, take a few more runs, take the line on a little bit more. That being said, he was coming back from injury. He'd missed 3 or so weeks of footy. He will improve with every game as the match fitness comes back. So, look, I'm happy to own him, but I mean, if he's scoring 22 against the Tigers, you'd be very reluctant to be playing him in your 17s.
I think as well, the other thing I do like about Schuster is that duel. I think 5'8's a bit of a shit fight at the moment.
It is.
It is going to come in handy at some point to have that duel to be able to move him around. Mate, the last guy I want to mention before we move on from guys this week and whatnot, our boy Val Holmes. How fucking good.
That try.
I'm pretty sure I heard you talk about it on Bloke last week, but just use him properly. Give him early ball. Better the centre, earlier they get the ball. Let him go.
Why isn't he roaming?
Yeah.
Like, their attack is so reliant on Scott Drinkwater being brilliant at the moment. And fortunately, he's doing that because, speaking of guns, like Scotty D, but just get Val to take some pressure off Drinkwater and the halves and get him roaming around, get him playing as a second fullback. And I think it's only a matter of time before Peyton has to do that with Val Holmes. And look, he's averaging 65, 70 odd, scratching the surface.
Yeah.
Turned up on the weekend. Man, he looks good.
Now, before we do move on, I just want to give a little shout out to some of the junior reps running around this weekend. We've got the Harold Matson SG Ball Grand Final, and mate, the Newcastle Knights and junior football is not bad playing in the Harold Matson and the SG Ball Grand Final. The Newcastle Knights are very impressive. In the Harold Matthews, you've got the Newcastle Knights taking on the Canterbury Bulldogs. I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen a stack of both of those sides, so I don't have much to touch on. But the SG Ball, Knights taking on the Parramatta Eels. I think you got a few proper superstars of the future there. First one, the Knights fullback Fletcher Sharp, little Ryan Pappenhausen clone, Timmy, from haircut to ball playing, just speed. He is
What's his
Pappy
name?
all over. Fletcher Sharp. Very, very talented young guy.
Little Sharpie.
Little Sharpie. I think he's a guy you can see in first grade pretty soon. The other one is one that I am very, very confident he plays first grade, and he could be a guy that plays for 10 years, is the lock forward, the skipper for the Knights. He actually came from the Parramatta Eels, now playing for Newcastle against Parramatta in the grand final. Miles Martin, who's a lock forward. Very Isaiah Yowie. Similar body shape.
Very Yowie.
Very Yowie. So some guys to watch there for Newcastle. Two guys that I am very, very confident you see in first grade over the next few years. For the Parramatta Eels, a few guys to watch. Obviously got the younger brother of Will Pensini, Richard. He's playing centre. Partnering him as a kid, Blaze Talangi, who was actually a halfback 5'8" last year. To me, I froth a ball player that moves to centre. Absolutely love it. And this kid's very, very talented. You've also got the hooker. He is Matthew Arthur, the younger brother of Jacob Arthur, the youngest son, I believe, of course, Brad Arthur.
Oh, he'll be on the bench for the Eels in no time.
No time, yeah. And then in the back row, you got the skipper for Parramatta, very talented guy as well, Charlie Geimer. So a heap of guys to keep an eye on in that game. If you are keen, Lockout Oval this Saturday. I might even venture out there, Timmy.
I would think there'd be no doubt that
I think there's a seat that says Guru on it, an A1, so I might
right
venture
next to
out
Gus
there.
Gould.
But if you do get a chance to get out there, there are a few guys that I know we're going to be talking about over the next few years. They will be cheapies very, very soon that we'll be very excited about. So plenty to touch on there.
Just quickly, before we move on from trade plans, a big one, there'll be a lot of questions around it going through the rest of the week, is that hooker spot. Harry Grant on the bye, if Sonny Luke's out, running without a hooker.
Yeah.
So
It's like an average Bucks party.
yeah, so I mean, there'd be every chance you're copying an AE of about 20 there. Not ideal. Do you look? Harry Grant will miss the 3 major Origin weeks. I expect him to play reduced minutes at the periods, if not get a rest over that period. Do you cut ties with Grant early? I know he's coming off a ton, but
It might be time.
the problem is
Who do you go
who
to?
to?
Yeah.
Like I at the price ticking along really nicely. I like Damien Cook, but he could be the Blues number 9. Marshall King, maybe he's going along rock solid. Reid Marnie's hit the skids. Reece Robson's going okay. Like there's not really anyone there.
No, Brandon Smith not going well enough, I don't think.
Yeah. So
And I think Hooker's only going to get harder and harder over the years too.
how many minutes did the Cheese get yesterday? I'll have a look now.
I think he played decent minutes, Cheese, but I don't know.
I like him if he's got the minutes. He looks like he'll probably be in that 50-minute role for them. So as I said, there's no one really standing. It's an interesting period of Supercoach about which way we played 73 minutes yesterday.
Was there any HIAs or anything? Or were they all? I mean, yeah. Angus was playing. Satilli was playing. All sort of guys playing less than minutes. So I wonder if
Angus
that.
played 63 minutes. It's good going.
He played 63, did he, Angus? Yeah, right. Interesting. I think that it is just also worth noting that, today's probably been a pretty negative podcast because there is just so much shit going on, but everyone's in the same boat as well.
Oh,
so I'm sure everyone's looking at their team going, oh my God, I'm fucked. So many people are in the same boats. I mean, neither of us are Payne Haas owners. We haven't even mentioned that. So people could be without a hooker.
Yeah.
People could be without Payne Haas this week.
On a week where a lot of people own Christian Welch.
Yeah.
Who's on the bye.
Of course, yeah.
Yes.
People could literally be coming into this week.
We mentioned hooker.
Yeah.
We could be short of front row, like a decent front row as well.
There is a world where people could be coming into this week with the only hooker in front row they have being Davey Moale.
Oh.
Very tough gig.
Yeah.
Very, very tough.
Tough week.
Tough week. All right. Should we dive into some questions, mate?
Yeah, hook in.
Okay. So I got one of our very keen listeners and our producer down there, Mitchie, to send in a couple of questions just about his team. So I thought that I would just go through these. His first one, interesting. I'm sure a lot of people are in this boat. What am I doing with Reid Marnie? Hasn't been scoring great, but doesn't play Origin. This is one that I'm glad I avoided. Reid Marnie, for me, is starting to fit into that Cooper Cronk. Looks mad on the field. Just doesn't score Supercoach points. What would be your advice to Reid Marnie owners?
Well, probably for the reasons we just mentioned before, like he's dropped to a mid 500k, and we don't really know like what's the play at hooker. You're not going to upgrade to Harry Grant, certainly not this week because of the bye. Like, who do you go to? I think he's not going. I know he's had a couple of ordinary weeks in a row, but I don't think he's going to let you down too bad. And like he's basing early 40s, which isn't the best. It's only okay. I think you just hold.
I think you just hold, yeah.
So there's not a lot of value in the trade. I don't know who you move him to. Maybe you make the play and just go to like Marshall King. I think he's a reluctant hold, at least for another week. Like, there's probably a lot of people. Anyone who does have money probably is running Harry Grant as well, in which case he's on the bye, so you'll need money this week. So I think it's just reassess for another week. Hopefully, there will be some like 80, 90, potentially even a ton in him. Hopefully he gets that, inject some price and hold on.
Fingers crossed. I do think it will be interesting. Obviously, well, the rumours are that our boy Carl Olawapu could be coming in for Canterbury over the next week or so. I actually like that for Reid. I think it might mean that he'll just take even more control of this side. So
he'll have to.
I think I'd be holding if you're in the Reid Marnie boat, I'd be holding him and just know that, it's not like everyone else has got this gun unbelievable hooker that they're completely stoked with. So no one's overly happy at hooker. I don't mind it. Another question from him. With Origin looming, I have Hines and Cleary. Who do I trade and who do I bring in? Is halfback a big enough issue to be swapping those guys out?
Not now.
Yep.
It will be come round 13. I suspect that, we look at probably the need to sell one of that pairing. I expect Nico to be in around the Origin camp somewhere, whether it's starting, whether it's off the bench, or whether it's 18th man. I'd be surprised if he wasn't there somewhere. So the Shark, he'll miss 13. They'll both miss 13, 16, 19. The Sharks have the buy in round 17, I think it is. So Nico would miss 2 weeks in a row there. Cleary, as we mentioned before, is just a prime rest candidate around that time. So not only will he miss 13, 16, 19, you'd expect him to be rested at least one game throughout that period. So, yeah, massive case. I won't be moving them until round 13 because you don't need to.
Yeah.
So you're going to have bigger issues. You won't want to not own them leading up to them. But once we get there, someone like Mitch Moses comes into the conversation who plays 3 major buy rounds. Maybe like someone Jerome Hughes. You won't play 13, but after that. So whether you hold them both for that period or not, the thing is they could both be worth $1 million at that time, in which case they're missing a lot. That's a lot of money sitting on your bench for, potentially 4 or 5 weeks that they're not playing. So, look, at this stage, I will probably be looking to flip one of them come round 13. But until that time, I'm just going to sit on my hands.
Pretty common question between a lot of people. They're obviously looking at the future and what they're going to do at 5'8", which is proving to be a great pain in the ass. Cody Walker or Dill Brown. Cody Walker's got the hot hand at the moment. A 66 against Penrith last week in a pretty tight affair. Other than that, he's been scoring very, very well. I don't. Do South play round 13?
They do.
They do. Okay. Who are you leaning towards, Cody Walker or Dill?
I think Dill, just the really good buy schedule, and Dill, he's scoring well and hasn't done a lot. Like, basing 35, which is very good for a half, for an 8. Averaging mid-60s, looks good. Para's draw coming up. Knights, Titans, Raiders, Bunnies, Cowboys round 13. It's a good draw. I think from having a really difficult draw this season to still be averaging mid-60s and with that buy coverage at the price, I think he's the man. Cody has been excellent. I just think you're paying top dollar for him now. I think we've missed the boat. Not missed the boat on him, but I'm leaning towards Brown.
I thought as well, Dill Brown, obviously, as you said, scored a 67 on the weekend. I opened my app thinking he'd be on 30.
Yeah.
I don't know where all those points came from or whatever. It was insane. I'll tell you who else I thought was very good that I'll be considering. Sean Lane. He was offloading at will.
Speaking of expecting him to be low, and then he was like mid to late 60s as well.
Oh, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it felt like he had 5 or 6 offloads. He was everywhere, Sean Lane. So plenty of Parramatta options there to consider. One that you sort of already covered, but a lot of the question from a lot of people, is Eli Katoa a sell?
I mean, ability-wise, I'm happy to hold him. I think he's pretty solid. Kiwi, so won't be impacted by any origins or any of that sort of stuff. Look, the HIA was unfortunate, but he was missing this week anyway. I'd like to hold him longer term, but I really do need to sit down and work out what happens when team lists come and how short I am in certain positions. But tempted to hold, fully understand the sell. You?
I've never owned him, so I haven't really looked at him.
Never owned Eli Katoa?
No. I went Bryce Cartwright, then I moved him on.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Yeah. What about, we mentioned before, hookers, not a bad little shout here. Blake Brayley is a pod. His ownership is 1.5%. My worry with Blake Brayley is that he's always very close to a 30. I don't know how he's been scoring this year. You got the stats in front of you.
He's had 3 scores under 50 out of 6. So then on the weekend,
he's one of those guys. A very good footballer. Really do like him, but fuck, he can have some low Supercoach games when he doesn't even play poorly.
So what was he on the weekend? He scored 65, and he's been playing terrific footy, but he doesn't quite have. He's basing 45, so solid enough. But I don't love him.
Yeah, I don't think I'd.
Doesn't play around 13 either.
Yeah. And I think that if you're going to trade a hooker in, you want to be trading them in because they're good Supercoach players, not because their ownership's low. And
the other thing is there are so many so many strike weapons in attack for the Sharkies, namely Nicho Hynes. He doesn't need to overplay his hand, whereas that's for someone like Jeremy Marshall-King, who has a massive role in attack for the Dolphins, who play 13. I think Marshall-King's probably maybe the player there.
Yeah. A question that is weirdly common this week, which I never thought I'd be reading on this podcast. Should I be buying Tautau Moga? Coming off 111 last weekend. I'm just going to hand this little overthink out over to you, mate.
Saw these questions arising and I sort of had to have a bit of a look into him. As a quick cash grab, sure. What he's had back-to-back, 98 and 110 or so. I'm just, like, he's 493k. What I'd give for him to be 350k, in which case I'd be like, yep, sweet. Look, he had 3 tries on the weekend, but didn't have a tackle break, which is incredible. When I say the weekend, I mean Tuesday night, obviously Tuesday afternoon. So I'm really happy with my CT dub at the moment. I'm currently running Garrick, Toto, Val Holmes, Joey Manu. I've got Taruva on the bench as a very solid 5th CT dub play. Every chance that there'll be a McLean or a Jenkins or someone who's slotting there who I think will be pretty solid plays as well going forward. So it's not where I need to be investing money, and I don't. I think he's going to have some very low scores in him. Plus, I mean, job screw is probably okay on his form, but you never know what will happen.
I'm just reading through these questions, and the amount of questions that I think are copy and paste from last week about a cheap front row forward. Oh. Has anything changed on that front?
Another one that's probably a little bit hard to assess until things unlock and I can sort of have all the numbers in front of me and have time to digest all of it. But look, not really. There's been a few questions around Couchman.
Yep.
He got 43 yesterday, 273k prior to lockout ending, so he'll go up a little bit. He had a break even of 15. Round 7 against the Raiders, he had 14 points in 18 minutes. The 2 weeks prior, he had 51 minutes and 42 minutes, so just seems a bit week to week with Couchman and the Dragons and their middle forwards and what sort of minutes they are pumping out. So, look, not for me, but the thing is this week, that is going to get more and more popular, that question, isn't it? Because no Payne Haas for a lot of people, no Christian Welch. People will be looking at going, say, Mo Ali or Pele or whoever it is to someone just to get them through a week. That's one that stay tuned for the next 2 days and we'll come up with a better answer.
Mate, another one, I haven't had a stack of questions about him, but there has been 2 or 3, obviously looking at a pod who will feature in round 13. Your strike centre, Matty Timoko, who we are both huge fans of, has looked tremendous this year. A guy that I think has improved out of sight and that I absolutely love, but is he a guy that you could consider? I feel like there's so much value at CTW with other guns.
Yeah, he doesn't have the ceiling there in that Raiders side. He's basing 35 a game, which is outstanding. Based 50 against the Knights that game.
Wow.
Scored only 2 tries this season, had the 1 try assist. So, look, he's averaging 57, very solid. I just don't like attacking plays at the Raiders. I don't think they've got the points in them. As you said, when I'm going for my CT dubs, players like Kiraz, Garrick, Toto, Val, they have these 150s in them. I don't think Matty Timoko does. So, look, maybe a sneaky one closer to round 13, but not for me.
Would you, a question from a lot of people as well, round 13, are you planning to use a boost that week?
Probably more likely to use one. It'll all depend on how numbers are going and you really need to assess it. Probably more likely to do it round 14 when I'm getting rid of players that I only sort of held due to playing round 13. So when I'm looking to make that transition in prep for round 16 and making the moves there, more likely for round 14 the week after it.
Okay. Mate, I think that will just about do us for questions.
I think so, mate.
Tough gig, guys. Obviously, this week, as we pointed out off the top, that we don't have team list yet or anything. You guys will, so take it off autopilot, work it out yourself. You will do very well. Worth noting as well, mate, I just had a look at the New South Wales Cup lineups for this week. You've got Xavier Savage, who is playing fullback this week for the Canberra Raiders in reserve grade. How do you see that playing out over the next few weeks?
I suspect that Savage will come in at fullback at some stage for the Raiders pretty soon. Seb Chris will move probably to the wing for Nick Kotrick, who is out.
A wing, you reckon? Yeah.
Well, like Croak came in, was rock solid, 1-2 from 2 in a Raiders side that was battling. It seems harsh to drop him. Put it this way, if they were full strength and Rapana and Kotrick were on the wings, I think Croak would probably get dropped, but due to no fault of his own, but I think it would probably be Seb Chris at centre with Timoko. But Kotrick has that hammy injury, so I believe he'll be out. I reckon Rapper will come back in on one wing for Hopewadi. I reckon Chris can play on the other wing, and then Croak stays at centre. When Savage does come back, yeah, and then when Kotrick comes back, there might not be a spot for Croker, but that's probably the way I see it. A bit of a guessing game, but
for my draft purposes, which side does that put Seb Chris on? Left or right? Rapana will come in. Does he play left or right? Sort of.
That'd be all over a shot. It depends what side Chris would pretend, prefer. So we'll see how.
Okay,
yeah.
Sweet. All right, mate. Captains this week, without having team lists or anything to go off.
Yeah.
If we're just vibing out here, what are we? You obviously got Nico Hines. He plays Thursday night against the North Queensland Cowboys at Shark Park. I don't mind that little shout there for a VC.
If Cleary is playing, it's just lock and load against the Tigers. Do not think twice.
I disagree.
Why?
If he's coming in under a little bit of a cloud, if they've got Jack Cogger on the bench, he might not play the entire game. I mean, it just because his name doesn't mean he'll definitely play.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, if he plays.
But, like, that's the Saturday 7:30 game. So if he doesn't play, it means then you have to find a captain out of Warriors, Roosters, Dragons, Bulldogs. Does become tough.
Yeah, it does.
You would have to... I would assume he won't goal kick this week. I think that'd be outrageous if he goal kicks this week. So, I get where you're coming from. If he's 100%, he's playing. But if he's
it's
not,
just team. Yeah, it's a very team pendant. Like if Cogger's on the bench, that will cause concerns. So look, I'll be trying to go, that with Cleary, but Nico on the Thursday night versus the Cows, it might just be the straight C option, to be honest.
Yeah, and I mean, well, the beauty of this is that if you do go with a Nico VC, if your hookers are fucked, at least you've got a definite C that you can just chuck up there and take your VC.
You get a free crack at the skipper. So that's the upside to that, the hooker scenario, as you said, so potentially. But, look, and let's say one of the hookers do play and we have a hooker there and you don't have a free VC loop crack, I'm very content with a straight C on Nico Hines.
Yeah. Turbo against Manly, Turbo against the Gold Coast. If he is named at Brookvale, I still wouldn't have the balls to do it just based on how he's looking at the moment.
Not on with injury, yeah.
What about Manu against the Warriors?
Don't mind it.
I don't mind it. I mean, as much as we're all complimenting the Warriors and how good they're conceding a lot of points.
Well, there's probably your play. If you do want to go with Cleary and you need someone on the weekend, isn't it? You just go Manu.
I'll tell you what, Manu as well. The Warriors will be without Jazz, Tohu Harris. Chance will probably be out. Chance will be out, I think.
Yeah.
How rough is that on the Warriors that they got scheduled to play Anzac Day, which is completely fair. They play on Anzac Day. But then they schedule their Magic Round game on the Saturday, which is 11 days after their Tuesday. So anyone with the Cat won last night.
Missing both, hey?
Missing both. Yeah, you have to get a special exemption, which, I don't know. If I'm the NRL and I've come this hard on concussions and everything, am I going to allow exemptions?
Kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it?
Why wouldn't you give them the Sunday game?
Yeah.
It's outrageous.
Wow.
Not to mention, the Warriors played the Melbourne Storm last night. Who do you reckon they play the next 2 weeks?
Roosters
and?
I don't know.
Penrith.
Oh.
So they gave them Melbourne, Roosters, Penrith 3 weeks in a row. Not 3 weeks in a row, 11 days. And then in round 2, before the Warriors had time to point out that this is fucked, they then brought in that 11-day rule.
They can't take.
Can we help the Warriors?
They're
please?
doing everything
Can we do
they
anything
can
for
to
them?
be competitive this year.
Fuck.
Poor old Tohu Harris as well. We mentioned front rowers. Like, Tohu looked a great buy with coverage around that origin pin. Now he's gone in. Do we know the severity of that? Poor bugger.
I think it was an MCL.
Oh, 6 to 8.
Yeah. And as soon as he went down, I thought, oh, this might make Jazz interesting. Then he hobbles off as well. So,
interesting. How bad was Jazz, do we know?
No, I'm not sure.
Freddie Lussick, 276k hooker. Could be an 80-minute hooker.
I've never been the biggest Freddie Lussick fan, but fuck, he played well last night. That's probably the best game of footy I've seen him play, I think.
Yeah, I mean, sneaky one.
When's Wade Egan due back? What's his situation? Do we know?
Well, he was the HIR. He's had a few head knocks, so it'd only be if he was out longer term. But I believe he's probably back pretty soon. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Feel for those Warriors. All right, mate. Is that us done and dusted?
I think so, mate.
Now we have also got the weekly winner for this week, who is Kyle, who coaches the Orange Pulses. Now, does that mean that is Lockout done now?
We're done.
We're done.
Thank
Okay,
God.
let's start the episode.
Here we go. Welcome back to Beers and Breakevens.
All right. All right, Mitchie. All right. Let's have a look at our ranks this week. Might have to play this episode in reverse. Join the Navy.
Shit, I dropped out of the top 10K.
Good.
Just.
You deserve that.
10,500.
10,500?
Yeah.
What am I? I went up 7,000, so I'm at 18K. All right. We're starting to get back into it.
Getting there, mate.
We're getting there. All right. Now, is there anything, now that we have got it open, mate, is there anything you want to have a quick look at on the fly, whether it be...
Mate, don't do it to me.
Don't do it to you?
I'm still recovering from it.
Don't do it to you. All right. I will just get up the weekly winners. So if you are a weekly winner and you've waited this entire episode to hear me talk about it in the last 8 seconds, credit to you. We'll have a look at where we're sitting. So in the top 10, we've got 3 of them. We've got the X-Man. Now, I actually got a message about X. Did you get a message by any chance?
I got a message about X, yeah.
That apparently it's someone that's well known to all of us.
Yeah.
Someone well known in the Supercoach
the
community.
community.
Something like that, yeah.
I love that everything about that.
Yeah, I got given that on a note in a car park in a dark corner. So I absolutely love that. So the X is leading overall in Supercoach and coming first in our comp. Just a reminder too, guys, if you do win the Beers and Breakevens League, 353-745, $5,000. And if X is a club member, T-Rex Tony...
T-Rex.
Say T. Williams. Big Tony Hayek has put up another $500, so $5,500. Could that be Xavier Savage? Could that be the X-Man?
I would say more than likely.
More than likely. Yeah, so big money up for grabs there. And our weekly winner this week, Kyle, who coaches the Orange Pulsers, he scored 1,325. Unlucky to the guy that finished second. That's also in our group who scored 2 less points. So hopefully he wasn't a guy that played Isaiah Katoa, because that has cost you a football and a hat.
Cost me top 10,000.
Unlucky.
Katoa one.
Can't win them all. So Kyle, coach of the Orange Pulsar, if you are out there, mate, send us an email, beersandbreakevens@gmail.com. Going to send the last few weeks' prize winners out today. So make sure you reach out to me ASAP, please, brother. Mate, are we done and dusted? Anything else you
Done
want
and
to touch
dusted. On to the next.
I can't wait for next week when we've got team lists and everything. Going to be unreal. So, all right, guys. Also, Blue Wealth Property tomorrow night. They've got their webinar, or you can attend in real life. IRL stands for in real life, Timmy.
You're a hip young bloke. Even as a married man, you're still hip. Still up with the kids, aren't you?
I can still shake with the best of them. Thursday, 27th of April, that is tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m. You can hit the link in the description. If you cannot find the link or it's not there or whatever it might be, reach out to myself or Timmy and we can send you in the right direction. 6:30, you can either go to the Blue Zone, which is the Blue Wealth Property headquarters out there at Homebush, or you can be online for the webinar. Click on the link. That's rent vesting. And we obviously had the great Morts. It feels like weeks ago since he was on. We had him on earlier this morning explaining what rent vesting is and what that's all about. So very exciting times.
That'll be awesome, mate. Yeah, so tune into that one. I'll be doing it myself. So you want to live somewhere, you can't afford it, you rent there, buy elsewhere. We're basically Tony and Blue Earth tell you to do it.
Yeah. They know what they're doing. Go and listen to them. Guys, make sure you go grab yourself a case of Bloke in a Bar this week too. We won't give you too much of an announcement, but Magic Round, myself and Timmy will be up there. We'll be at the Caxton on Saturday night with Kempy, Maddie, Tom, Eddie, all the bloke crew up there from meet and greet at the Caxton. I believe that'll be upstairs. That should be a wild little evening.
I think it's about 1. I think the plan's roughly 1 o'clock on the Saturday.
1 o'clock Saturday, yes,
you're right. Come along, say good
actually.
day, sing a few froths.
Tell a few lies. It'll be unreal. Yeah. And then we're not sure where, but Friday, myself and Tim, we will be getting a beer somewhere and we will let you know where it is if you want to come along. Yep. Not a show, not a meet and great. It's come and have a beer, come and meet us. If
it's an excuse to drink beers.
Yes. So we will not be buying any of them. You will be. So know that going in, but we will let you know where we'll be. And if you are at Magic Round, make sure you come and say hello. It's going to be a cracker. I can't wait for Magic Round.
Yeah. It's going to be a belter.
I'm so sick of airports, but I'm keen as fuck for that one. Feels like the last hurrah. All right, guys. Link for Blue Wealth Property is in the description. Please go check it out. Sign up. Even if you're not maybe going to utilise it right now, I guarantee you it will come in handy in the future for sure. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us once again. Sorry about this week. Bit of a shit fight is what it is. We'll be back next week, bigger and better. Should we stay in here? I've got a feeling about it.
Oh, please.
Cheers, guys. See you next week.